Alrighty, here we are. We are live on YouTube. I didn't know that we could screen share. It's interesting. All right, making sure everything looks good for you all. All right, everyone. I'm Krys of Cosmic Frequency. I want to welcome you all to this live stream. We have a couple of things I'd like to discuss today. Firstly, everything that is shared, all the knowledge and wisdom that is shared here is for the highest and purest intention for everyone involved. You can take this stuff as fantasy or as fact. You can interpret it however you'd like. I'm only here to deliver a frequency and a frame of reference for you to tune into or not. So, at the end of the day, everything is always your choice. But the main thing that I want to talk about today is the chakra system and Ascension, psychedelics, and alcohol. So we're going to see if we can get to all of those topics in one video. I'm hosting an in-person gathering May 3rd through May 5th in East Burke, Vermont at the King's Trail at a wonderful, beautiful venue. I'm only inviting 12 people because what I share online is a very small portion of what I can really offer in person in a small gathering, going on hikes, eating food together, having contemplative thoughts and conversations where we can really get clear on some of the deeper and more important factors of the journey. So this will be held in East Burke, Vermont, May 3rd through May 5th. You can join myself and the rest of the people, all the other 12 people, during this wonderful event. It's just called Cosmic Frequency Weekend. It's a deep dive into all the things I share here, but going into much more detail with it all. So cosmicfrequency.org is the website. Instagram is Cosmic Frequency, but there's no second E in the word frequency. Email is chris@cosmicfrequency.org. So I sent out a poll the other day and I asked people what topic did they want me to discuss next. And they said, chakras. I think it was 67%. Why I do not subscribe or use the traditional chakra system. And I think this is a great place to start because traditionally speaking, most people are very accustomed to the idea of the 7 chakras. It's very popular. It's well known. It derives its lineage from the Indian and the Hindu mysticisms of enlightenment and self-realization that eventually leads to what some would call the rainbow body. So these are all things that I've studied, I've looked into myself, but I don't subscribe to them anymore. This actually happened years and years ago when I realized that there was always so much work to do with the chakras. There was always cleaning them, so there's always maintaining them, there's always clearing them. It seemed very, very tedious. It seemed like a never-ending process of trying to, again, achieve something in order to experience one's greatest self, whatever you want to call it, right? So I stopped working with my chakras altogether, and I actually just started to focus on my heart center, my heart space. And that had tremendous results. I never had any negative experiences that I can correlate directly to not working with the chakra system. And I want to read a few things about the chakras that I have intuited over the last couple of years that'll help you understand that there's more to the journey. Whenever you first awaken to the fact that you're something more than someone who's supposed to pay bills and work a 9 to 5 and have kids and then die, that's the bare bones minimum of an incarnation. When you start to really awaken to something greater, there's thresholds that you have to move through within your own self. And sometimes those thresholds are filtered through external lenses through the spiritual community. And one of those main things is the 7 chakra system. I know there's 7 to 12 to 24 to 48 chakras, and it's just a whole thing. But you have to remember that the majority of the spiritual journey or the external spiritualization of the journey is propaganda. It's meant to paint a picture to give you a specific result, not inherently designed to give you the truth, but to promote an agenda or a perception. Everything is about frequency control. So just because hundreds and thousands and millions of people are doing something does not mean it's the right or accurate or even necessary thing to do. And this involves spirituality, most definitely, and sometimes even more so than the traditional everyday things. So keep that in mind as I'm reading. And remember, don't try to understand cosmic frequency from your current perspective. The whole point of cosmic frequency is to shift you into a higher frequency, a deeper or a more refined way of viewing reality that you're not going to find anywhere else. This is not new age spiritual propaganda. This is source expressed emanations. This is not typical information. So just remember that. So something I wrote back in September 5th, 2022, when we talk about, this is all about frequency. And I wrote, when we talk about chakras, we are not talking about location as in upper or lower, but rather frequency scales and pulse rhythms that make up a concentrated energy sphere. To move up the chakras is inaccurate, as it is not a linear phenomenon. It is a change in pulse rhythm or ether torsion. We change the radio station dial. Okay, so these first two paragraphs, the chakras are not a linear progression up someone's biological system. It is more about shifting the frequency, and that shift in frequency will give you a perspective that you would be able to then measure out an angle, and that angle is going to give you a spectrum of light. All right. So the chakras themselves aren't necessarily located in the body. And I think I talk about this later on. It is wise to know that the tone of each energy center that at any time you can tune into it. So you can tune into any color spectrum at any given time. Linear location, as far as root chakra, crown chakra, heart chakra, these are all simply a guiding point. But the true chakra frequencies are bandwidths. They're not, physical locations per se. So I'm going to go on to another note about chakras. As you gain more and more perspective, the energy systems for that density shift to match the new frequency. That is to say, the chakras are only specific to one level or one density of reality based on conceptual agreements. So again, chakras are not the end-all be-all. They are simply a byproduct of a certain perspective of viewing reality. All right? Then we have, okay, the chakras are not in the body, but rather are an attribute of the ether that can be tuned into at any time or any place. Right? So again, the chakras and how we have come to understand it, they're not in the body. They're not on top of your head, they're not in your heart. It is a frequency that is able to be shifted into and out of at will at any given time. My beautiful shawl is falling off. So this is another reason why I stopped, subscribing to the chakras, is because I felt like it was, again, another manipulated concept. It was just another manipulated concept, and the full spectrum was never given. I've never heard anyone talk about the chakras simply, not being on the body or not a linear scale. This came through my consciousness noetically, as I say. You as a consciousness, you as a conscious use the light as magnifying glass when looking through the body. Okay. The chakras are simply the vibratory spectrum of light and sound that bring forth matter or exclude matter. You as consciousness use the chakras like a magnifying glass. When looking through the body, the color spectrum becomes apparent, right? So basically, if you imagine like this crystal, this Ndara crystal, if you shine a light through it, it's going to reflect and refract at different angles. Those angles are then going to give you colors. Those colors are there all the time, all in one place. It's not so much about the root being here or anything. It's about the spectrum and how the angle or how the observer is viewing reality at that time that is going to give the expression of a chakra or the expression of a color. All right. Okay. The adept can use the color spectrum well beyond the physical body, for it is within all of nature and reality, unspecific to just the human beings. The human body is just a prism through which gray or white light fractalizes into the color spectrum. One can utilize the power of each color spectrum for specific purposes that are a part of the main function of each color. Example, green can be used for whatever the basic function of green is. Specific angles will result in a specific color. Sound, shape, angles, color, light. These are all ways in which we can interact with our reality. All right, so I'm going to read this again because this is really important. The adept can use the color spectrum well beyond the physical body, for it is within all of nature and reality, specific, not specific just to human beings. The human body is just a prism, right? It's just a prism that filters out specific colors or angles or rate of vibration, frequency, say different words for the same thing, or includes others. One can utilize the power of each color spectrum for specific purposes that are a part of the main functions of each color. So when you study the ether, when you study ether physics, and this is what I teach in cosmic frequency, I don't teach you about, E equals MC squared and 369 base 10 math, even though everyone thinks it's base 12. It's not, because you're missing 12. I teach you ether physics and how the objective reality, if we can even say that, operate. The objective reality operates subjectively, ironically enough. It operates through the prism or the lens of the consciousness that is perceiving it. With that said, you begin to realize that based on your thoughts, you generate a frequency. That frequency then has a specific range of oscillation. That specific range of oscillation then is going to generate a specific color or tone. In that tone, that color has attributes or qualities that are inherent to it. So the attribute and the color of blue is different than green, than red, and all the things. But what I'm saying is you can utilize the color of green for the specific attributes that are inherent to green. Right? Then you can do the same thing with blue and orange and all the colors that we can't see. So what we're really talking about is the advancement of the consciousness through comprehending the deeper workings of reality. This is noetic science. This is ether physics. This is not your New Age typical information. So if you're trying to understand it from your typical New Age propaganda lens, it's not going to make any sense to you. The chakras are not held within the body. I don't use the chakra system. I understand frequencies and harmonics. And I know that when I'm in a specific frequency, a specific color is there to match that frequency. But to simply sit there and just focus on my solar plexus, it doesn't do me any good for the most part because it's very limiting. The solar plexus color, what is it, orange or yellow? Yellow is not held here. That's just the linear two-dimensional comprehension. But the color yellow is a perspective. It's a state of mind. It's a state of awareness. So is green. So is blue. So is orange. So is transcendental turquoise. These are all just frames of reference that are always accessible to us. You experience different colors and different bandwidths of reality as your consciousness advances on its journey, as you advance on your journey. So I again, I don't subscribe to the chakras. I highly suggest that you look into deeper or newer ways of engaging your spiritual systems that are not just a traditional chakra system. Not that it's bad, but for me it was too limiting. It was too limiting. It was too much work, and I don't believe that just by focusing on my root chakra I'm going to clear my root chakra. I don't, because the color is just a byproduct of the thought. And it's about shifting the thought and the base frequency to generate a different color. Once you enter into a different state of consciousness, you naturally are oscillating, vibrating in a different resonance zone, hence a different color. Can you guys hear me okay? I just want to make sure that my voice is coming through okay. I know there's just a few of you on here, so someone just comment here, just give me a thumbs up or something. I think it's good, but I just want to make sure. So to manipulate the ether, you can utilize shape. I'm just reading notes from something I wrote in my downloads folder back in, I think this is 2022. So to manipulate the ether, you can use sound, shape, angles, color, and light. Right? These are all byproducts of the same thing. It's all the ether. It's all the source. So there's not separation in the chakra system. The chakra system is one. It's one sphere. It's not separated into root, heart, da 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 da. It's one sphere, and based on your consciousness, you would experience the byproducts of said color, like I said a couple of minutes ago. Something else I want to point out is the separation, the underlining theme of separationism within spiritual propaganda, which is to say, your crown chakra is here, your third eye is here, your heart's here, and this is here, and this is here. And they talk about, you progress in this kundalini, which is not true. I've never had a kundalini awakening because it doesn't really exist. And there's a lot of belief systems that support this kundalini theory. But as far as interstellar beings go and other beings from different spaces, quite literally, we don't subscribe to kundalini awakenings and things like that. That's either a phenomena that's very specific to humanity, or I personally don't think that there's a snake-like energy that moves up the spine. I don't. I think that people have realizations and their nervous systems are regulated and things are cleared out, and they associate this with kundalini. I have no issues with snakes. I love snakes. Snakes represent magnetism and the flow of the feminine energy. So it's not a matter of dismissing the snakes or anything like that. It's giving a different perspective beyond the traditional kundalini chakra system, right? I just heard my kiddos. Sorry. So another thing I want to note is Ascension itself is a personal thing. Ascension itself is not a global thing. It's something that happens individually within you over time. You are meant to unfold like the lotus. And this is going to transition us into talking about psychedelics and alcohol. So as I continue on, those of you who have been following me for a while, you know that I don't smoke, I don't drink, I've never done ayahuasca, I've never done LSD, Molly, none of those things. I gotta close this window. All right. So drugs and alcohol have never been a part of my spiritual path. Everything that I've accomplished or everything I've realized has come from deep states of meditation and just observing reality and really taking it from there. I've never needed psychedelics. And I actually vote against psychedelics, and I'm pretty stern in that. And I have a lot of friends who swear by them, and I'm going to talk to you about why I don't subscribe or tell anyone that I work with to go to an ayahuasca ceremony or anything like that. And it goes back to what I was saying. We are meant to unfold over time. The soul is grown and it expands over time. It's not an all-knowing entity that has everything figured out. The soul is the ether. It's the source. What happens is the source becomes conscious of itself at any moment, all the time, anywhere, everywhere. And when it becomes conscious of itself, it starts to spiral and it starts to generate its own um, pulse rhythm, its own frequency. And this generation of frequency then becomes sentient. It becomes self-aware. This is where we get the idea of the Taurus from. And from that self-awareness, that point of consciousness or the point of focus that is the ether, that is the source, will generate an incarnation experience to now experience itself, to now expand itself. And so this is where the idea of new soul, old soul comes in. An aspect of the source who has not had a lot of experience, and an aspect of the source who has had a lot of experience. So over time, this Taurus, this field of frequency, is going to generate its own reality to give it specific experiences. Now, incarnation after incarnation, you're going to become more wise, more wise, more wise, and eventually remember that you are the source, pretending that you're not. And what happens in those moments is you are meant to unfold. You're meant to go through things that are going to help you expand your own self-awareness. And it's designed to be a gradual unfolding. Whether it's a gradual unfolding in one lifetime or a gradual unfolding over hundreds of lifetimes, doesn't really matter because you're eternal. But the point is that it's a gradual, self-fulfilling prophecy, a self-producing experience. Now, the benefits of having your spiritual journey being a self-induced state of being is that you don't traumatize your system. You don't give your nervous system, your mind, or your body too much to handle at once. Therefore, pushing you back a few steps. You allow yourself to unfold over time. Another benefit is that you are more likely to comprehend the deeper mysteries of reality whenever you experience them directly through your own noetic mind, through your own principle of observation. Now, when you give yourself the time to unfold in this way, you become a much more well-rounded being. You're more wise. You're more grounded, because your realizations have not come from something outside of you. You become the teaching, right? So first you are the student, and then you are the experiencer, and then you are the teacher, but then you become the teaching. You become the teaching itself. You become the embodiment of that which you were seeking for. And in that, your foundation is unshakable, because you can't be tricked or trapped or bullshitted anymore. You have come into your own self-realization through your own developmental process. You have looked at different modalities and you have compared them to your own internal gnosis and used your own inner guidance system as a principle and a foundational standpoint in which you view things from now, right? You ascend up your own mountain. That's why I said ascension is a personal journey. So what does that have to do with psychedelics? When you take psychedelics, when you go to an ayahuasca retreat or ceremony, when you do combo, you are basically, you've jumped out of the hard drugs, like, I don't know drugs. So what are some, like meth and cocaine and all that? And you've substituted them for ayahuasca and all this stuff. It's the same thing, just in a different dimension. So you're not going to do all these hard drugs over here, but you're going to do these lighter, more airy-fairy drugs, right? Now, someone who's having an acid trip or someone who's having a spiritual experience, what's happening to their nervous system is this: their brain is actually firing neurons at such a fast rate that it actually um, like deteriorates and exposes so much of reality at once that it becomes overwhelming. Things don't make sense. You're receiving information from all different angles all at once. And so it overwhelms the brain and it puts it into hyperdrive, which is a shock to the nervous system, which then creates all kinds of systems in the physical body. But then the consciousness itself doesn't have a foundation anymore. Yes, you may see beautiful things. Yes, you may experience wonderful, spontaneous healings. I'm not denying any of that stuff. But what I'm saying is, as far as the journey is concerned, a lot of times you will open up doors that you were not meant to open up yet because you have not reached the consciousness or the maturity level to handle what's behind those doors. And so where people are, looking for solutions and looking for God and trying to find the answers to themselves, and they get invited to this ayahuasca ceremony, and then now they're seeing all kinds of beings, and now their traumas coming up from past lives and traumas coming up from things that they didn't even know was even there anymore, and they're a hot mess. It kicks their ass because that trauma and those visions and experiences were meant to be unfolded from you in your own everyday life over time, so you could handle it, so that you could actually integrate it without overwhelming yourself. You see what I'm saying? Does this make sense? And so what I find is when people do psychedelics, and I've had a lot of friends, I've lost probably more than I've ever had, but there's always this ungrounded connection that they have to the psychedelics, where it becomes a crutch. Even though they say it's not, it ends up being a crutch. Anytime they want to connect, they need to do marijuana or something. And I personally do not invite any of the followers of cosmic frequency to utilize drugs for spiritual experiences. I am a big advocate for being able to tune into your own frequency, for being able to sun gaze, for being able to sit by a river, for being in moments of stillness within yourself and letting yourself unfold over time. There's no race, there's no rush, there's no hurry. You're not missing anything. And my concern, if I can say that, is that when people are doing these psychedelics, they are doing themselves a disservice. They're not giving themselves a chance to actually experience themselves. They're going off into all kinds of different dimensions and realms all at once. And that's an overload for the brain, for the neurons, for the synapses. It's an overload for the physical body as well. So I would really like you all to think about that. We're having this event in May. All my in-person and all my gatherings are psychedelic free. I do not allow people to bring psychedelics, and if you do, you're kicked out, because I want you there to experience yourself. I don't want you there experiencing what the plant kingdom is telling you about. Yes, I know we're all one. Yes, I know we're connected. Yes, I know you can use mushrooms to heal the body. I know all these things. I'm not talking about the medicinal properties of plants. I drink pine tea. Pine tea is amazing. What is that other one? Can't think of it. But there's a lot of medicinal purposes to plants. I'm talking about the psychoactive approaches to the spiritual journey and how limiting that is to one's true awakening. It actually sets you back. You have all the power that you need. You have all the answers that you need. You just need to be in the atmosphere for yourself to experience it. right? You got to be in the atmosphere to experience it, which is what I do with my in-person gatherings. We create that atmosphere, which is really just you being in your own presence, you just being in your own heart, in your own sound mind. So last point of conversation, coming up on a half hour, pretty good timing, is sorry, I'm trying to fix this. Last point of conversation is alcohol. So alcohol is another thing that I don't subscribe to. It's not something that I like at all. Um, Al Ghul, right? A ghoul is a ghost. It's a demon, if you will. Alcohol, Al Ghul. Um, you have gin or the gin or gin, right? So gin, like gin and rum. Jinn is a lower astral entity that, yeah, that's a whole other story. But there's a reason they call these things spirits. Jinn, Al Ghul, these are all lower astral tethers. When you drink alcohol, you are tethering yourself to the lower astral. And I'm being very strict, and I'm seeing this fire, kind of this like blazing, like cutting through all the bullshit. All the like, well, it's just a casual thing. It's just I do it every once in a while. I'm coming right down the center with it. When you drink alcohol, I don't care if it's casual, just a sip of wine here and there. You are consuming a product, especially today, in today's modern society. You're consuming a product that is more often than not made through black magic, designed to tether you to frequencies, energies, and beings that you want nothing to do with. There's a reason why a lot of people lose their inhibition and act all funky and silly whenever they're drinking, is because it's not really them. They've invited another consciousness to partake in and be a part of that experience that they're having, called social drinking. A lot of people don't understand the byproduct of alcohol. I mean, the relationship between alcohol, depression, anxiety, da 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 da. There's a direct line. Some of you might say, well, I feel much better after I drink. I feel more free. I feel more open. But see, you're using a crutch still. You're still using a crutch because you haven't learned the discipline or the functionality of your own consciousness in order to actually be able to experience that without an external thing. When you consume alcohol, even if it's just for fun, you are being spiritually irresponsible. You are telling yourself, I don't know how to shift my frequency and vibration at will, and so I'm going to use an external resource to do it for me, right? And unfortunately, that external resource that you're utilizing has other beings attached to it. This is why they call it what they call it. If you don't know what the jinn are, Jinn, look them up, right? These are real lower astral entities. No, they're not all bad, but there's more to reality than what you are given. I know a lot of spiritual people. I really need to stop saying that. People who are on the path of, quote, ascension, and they're still drinking. They're still smoking marijuana. They're still drinking. They're still doing combo and all these things. And no, this is not a judgment. This is simply calling attention to something and asking and providing reference to say, hey, is that really actually beneficial? And is that really the energy you want to be in? Right? So you don't need to get all upset and mad and pissy with me. You just need to ask yourself, what happens if I stop drinking? Actually, what happens if I stop smoking? What happens if I stop utilizing the psychedelics? Who am I then? What am I then? Why and how am I then? Can I function without it? If I can, what would that be like? If I cannot, why can't I? How is this benefiting or not benefiting my physical vessel? How is this benefiting or not benefiting my consciousness? Right? Someone's got to talk about this stuff, because there's a lot of socially, spiritually accepted things that are actually a hindrance to the progression of the species. You are not going to find extraterrestrials drinking, not the advanced ones, not the ones who are living in what someone would call 5D or 6D, whatever, 12D dimension, you're not going to find them drinking. You're not going to find them smoking. You're going to find them connected to the source, which is themselves, and emanating that frequency. They have overcome the bodily desires for alteration, to be fluctuating in one's own field, in one's own consciousness, right? I'm tipsy. Whoa, oh my gosh, I'm high right now. Whoa, no. I'm always grounded and rooted in my own essence, my own principle of being. And I can't be taken from that position. So the ascension process is a personal one. Yes. Can there be benefits to drinking and doing different things? Ultimately, yes, there's benefits to everything. Even the most awful things are actually designed to help us move forward on the journey, right? But is there a more refined way to come into self-realization, cosmic frequency, through one's own noetic essence? Yes, I say yes. Will you be able to ascend while you're still drinking? The better question is, will I be able to overcome my own personal limitations while I'm still drinking or smoking? Will I be able to shift my thought patterns, my everyday habits at will in order to bring about a more desired outcome in my experience if I'm still drinking, if I'm still smoking? And I don't want to hear, well, the shamans do it or the ancients used to do it. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not concerned. I don't pedestal any modality, any teacher, any guru. I don't. And there's a lot of people who might consider that arrogant. It's not arrogance, it's confidence, and it's understanding that the second we say, well, the ancients used to do it, we are putting the ancients or the shamans ahead of ourselves. We're diminishing our own potential. And just because someone else does something doesn't mean you need to do it. That's what we learned in kindergarten. If someone jumps off a cliff, does it mean you need to do it? No. So just because something was ancient does not mean they had it all right. What I'm bringing is a new and fresh perspective. This is cosmic frequency. This isn't regurgitation information. This is life-giving, transformational ideas, thoughts, perspectives, transmissions. So you're not going to be able to shake me and try to flip me to see that, well, that group of beings, those elders did it. I've known a lot of elders who've been very disrespectful to me simply because I'm not older like them, right? Technically speaking, I'm still very young. But at the same time, age is not the preliminary to what it means to be wise. Wisdom is not measured in years. Wisdom is measured in the experiences life takes you through, in the experiences that you have. And so when it comes to drinking, smoking tobacco, doing all these things, we have allowed it to be okay because the elders did it. We have allowed it to be okay because the shamans did it. We've allowed it to be okay because the ancients did it. But when do we get to decide as human beings what we are right here, right now? And can we remove ourselves from these tethers to fully express what we all truly are? Now, I respect the elders. I respect the different traditions of this world. But I don't agree with all their customs. I simply don't. Because I see these customs as a limitation to the potential of what humans have the capability of being. If you take a college athlete and you are giving them electrotherapy and you're just stimulating their muscles and everything, it's going to feel good. It's going to help build their muscles up a little bit, but that's not the same as putting them in a pool and having them move their body and swim, and use their own muscles from their own power, from their own will. And so when you give a people psychedelics, of course there's going to be benefits. Of course people are going to have different experiences. Of course, alcohol has healing properties as far as like if you have a cut on your leg, you can use it for that and things like that. But the general idea is becoming a self-realized being, is becoming an ascended master of self. I don't subscribe to ascended masters, gurus. None of that stuff applies to me anymore because I realize ascension is a personal thing, as I keep saying. The master is the one who has realized themselves beyond the limitations that they have set for themselves, who can bring harmony to their environment. We need to stop glorifying what the ancients did and glorifying what these people did and glorify. Be you here now. Be the ascension process within yourself here now. Do not make excuses for your life anymore. Take action. It's all about your frequency. It's all about how you think and you process reality. There's no more excuses. There's no more excuses. We've all had shit. We've all gone through tough times. We've all had money issues. We've all yada, yada, yada. Your ascended masters didn't make excuses. And quite frankly, I'm not making excuses for you either. I'm not giving you an out. I'm saying you have the power. You have the ability to move your life in any direction that you want. You're right about alcohol, but you are partially wrong about psychedelics. It depends on how you do it. Ayahuasca can lift out of alcoholism with one ceremony. Again, it's a crutch. It's in your, of course, that's a perspective. And earlier I did say there is some benefits, but you don't need to go through ayahuasca. You can also remove yourself from alcoholism through your own consciousness, through meditation, through going through your own thought processes of why you need it in the first place, right? And I know that I'm an outlier on all of this. I know that I'm an outlier because there's a huge community of ayahuasca people. It's a lot. That's a big thing. So I know this is gonna press a lot of buttons. It's gonna rub people the wrong way. But if you can feel and hear what I'm saying anything that ayahuasca can do, you can do. You do not need it. You have to have a strong mind. I've never done ayahuasca. I've been through some of the most terrifying things in my life, but I never used ayahuasca to overcome it. This body has experienced things that most people have no idea because it's all good. I didn't use drugs and ayahuasca to overcome it. They are just a crutch. They're not the end all be all. And I might be speaking to 12 people right now who are feeling this frequency. There could be 9 billion people who don't like what I'm saying, and that's totally fine too. But for those of you who know that there's a different mode and a different way to operate in this realm without any external psychedelics, alcohols, anything like that, this is who I'm talking to. You're the ones who have the strong enough minds at this point to be able to shift your life in a perspective that brings about harmony and well-being for many, many people. So you're right. Since I've never done ayahuasca, I don't know what it's like directly, at least not in this lifetime. But my goal is not to come on and argue at all. And I understand what you're saying, brother, and I hear you, and I can feel the tension there that you don't like I'm saying these things, but I'm saying them regardless, and I'm standing this truth regardless. That I do not subscribe to the glorification of ayahuasca. I don't subscribe to the glorification of psychedelics in general. I subscribe to the human spirit, to the essence of creation, to the soul, to the human psyche, the ability to transcend one's own limitations. Just because something has one positive thing or 2 or 3 positive things doesn't mean it doesn't have a side effect behind it, right? So, brother Evan Starr, you are free to think and feel however you wish. You really, really are. And again, like I said, a cosmic frequency is not designed to be filtered through traditional concepts. You have to let go of old thought patterns in order to really feel the frequency of what I'm saying, my friend. I'm not speaking from a lens that is traditional, that is normal, that is regular, that is meant to be put in a box. There's enough people talking about ayahuasca and all that. I'm bringing something completely new and fresh to the table. So if that resonates with you, that's wonderful. If not, you're free to dismiss it and take it as fiction. Um, with all that said, I appreciate you all so much, and I trust that this has made sense. You know, like I said, I have the event coming up in May, May 3rd through May 5th. And this is a small gathering. I'm only inviting 12 people to speak with myself in person. We're going to go on hikes. We're going to be able to have contemplative discussions where you're going to have your time to just be in your own energy, sitting by rivers, climbing mountains, hiking. And then we're going to come back together and experience and share with each other what we thought about, what came through, what came up for us, and just be there in presence with each other over the weekend. I agree with you regarding crutches. Nothing personal against those who do, but I'm not okay with them regardless of harassment, pushback I get from those who do. I think I understand what you're saying. I agree with you regarding crutches. Nothing personal against those who do. I'm not okay with them regardless of harassment, pushback I get from those who do. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know that this is not comfortable for a lot of people, and that's okay, because often the most transformational things are not comfortable at first. We don't want to talk about it, and it's easier to say I disagree with you or whatever, because I've gone through that experience, and 1,000 other people have too, and that's all right. I'm not here to fit the norm, and I'm here to offer cosmic frequency. So for those of you who feel it, that's why I keep saying I'm here for you. With that said, I love you all. And again, reach out to me through my email, Krys@cosmicfrequency.org. And I will talk to y'all very soon. Peace.